Hi. As always, Tekken 8 sucks. One of the main reasons why Tekken 8 is so bad is because of the whole stance mix-up thing. A lot of the changes characters got in Season 2 allow them to just force more stance mix-ups, more 50-50s, and it's really difficult to deal with. And it's also very hard to lab because there's so much of it. So what I want to do in this video today is I want to tell you how to counter all of this new Season 2 garbage, what your counterplay options are so that it's easier for you to be able to beat it in a real match. This is going to be part 1 of 2. You can see from how long this video is, it's going to take a while just to get through half of the characters. So this is going to be going through Alisa through Kuma, A through K, and then everyone else is going to be in part 2. So we're going to start here with Alisa, and Alisa actually, surprisingly, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by the options that you actually have against all of Alisa's new garbage. So let's start with Alisa here. And Alisa, of course, her biggest thing is that she has a bunch of new moves that transition in the dual boot. The two main ones that you're going to see are DES down 2, which goes into dual boot, and you're going to see forward 1+2. Let's get the opponent Alisa here to block and then go in the dual boot. Now, these look really scary on the surface, like you just have to eat a true 50-50, but you actually don't. You'll notice that even when down 2 hits here, this move is normally 0 on hit, and when she goes into dual boot, she's actually only, if I could get this to go, she's actually, hello? Let's try that one more time. Only +4. And the fastest move she has out of dual boot is 12 frames, which means that if the Alisa does, I have her set to do a fastest move here, which is the 1+2, you can actually power crush her on hit, which doesn't look like it would normally be a thing, but you can. But it goes a step further than that. The entire mix-up, you can actually sidestep right. So you do have an option to beat this other than just block the mix-up. You have two options. You can power crush here and you can sidestep. Now, that's not to say that these aren't completely infallible. For example, if Alisa does here the dual boot 3, let's set her up to do this real quick. Then, of course, if you power crush here, then you get counter hit launched, right? So that's supposed to be her counterplay around this. This low, though, is -14 on block. So if you do block it, you get a pretty sizable punish. And on normal hit, she's not really going to be able to do a whole lot with it, even though it's +4. But if you do sidestep, you can still sidestep this move and then launch her for doing it. So you do have some pretty good options. And this even includes her new move. Her new move, again, on the surface, kind of looks like, if I actually record it right, that it is a homing move. It just because of the animation that it has. But in reality, this move can actually be sidestepped to the right. So again, if we get hit here, you can see sidestep right, and we're able to beat that, meaning that we don't have to deal with the plus on block situation after the new move, the +7 on block situation. So overall, the mix-up can be pretty reliably sidestepped to the right, and of course, it's going to depend on the character that you're playing. Like if you're playing bears, for example, that's going to be a bit harder. But even if you can't, then power crush is also a pretty damn good option. Just to demonstrate this one more part further as well, if we do this and then go here, even if we do the house sweep here, which is another move that Alisa players will do a lot, especially because it leaves her in DES now and it looks like it's homing. Again, this move you can sidestep, sorry, maybe sidewalk to the right here. I might have just got the timing wrong. There you go, sidewalk to the right. So that's going to be pretty much it for her dual boot transitions, and this is also going to include her forward 1+2. In fact, I don't even have to set up to record here because this is also +4 on block into dual boot. So she does have another transition here as well, and that's off of backup 1. Backup 1 now allows her to go in the boot, and this is a little bit trickier. This mix-up is a bit more true than the last one is. Now, you do have options to be able to defend against Alisa in boot, unlike a lot of characters. If you have a read that she's going to go for the mid, then you have enough time to be able to power crush her, and if you do heat burst because she's floating, you get a full combo. If you're playing a character that can sidestep, you can also sidestep the mid to the right. Now, the thing is, though, if she does the low, this move is going to, of course, lose the Power Crush, as we demonstrated before, and it's also going to lose to Sidestep. So if she does the low, then you do have to block it. This is putting you more in a true mix-up situation. Of course, the move that she does here is high, but the risk here is that she has a safe mid-launcher out of backup, so that's something that you have to watch out for as well if you go to duck this high. Now, some other tricky things that she can do out of this stance is not only can she go here and do the moves out of boot, but she can also cancel boot and then not do that. She can cancel boot and then do this again so it can loop into itself, and she can also cancel into crouch and then do a from crouch mix-up. So that's another thing to look out for. Now, when it comes to heat, she has a couple of new things in heat. Forward 4-2, 1+2 here. This is going to be only +3. And I say only +3, but this is the exact same situation as when you block forward 1. You basically just down jab her. If you down jab her, that beats pretty much everything except for the orbital, and no Alisa player does the orbital. So that would be my personal go-to after this, if you have an Alisa that's just hitting buttons afterwards. But also keep in mind the pushback as well makes this a little bit harder for her to follow up. Again, she can do like forward 1, but she's limited in her options afterwards. Then finally, when it comes to the actual dual boot forward 1+2, she's left +7. This kind of gives her free reign to do whatever she wants. If you try contesting with a down jab or anything, then you have to be really careful, because the 1 here can hit you and then she can get a follow-up from there. She has a lot of options to be able to beat you here at +7, so really your best bet is to just take the mix-up. If you block a move like forward 1, then just try down jabbing here, interrupting the pressure, and go from there. All right, so Asuka doesn't have a stance mix-up per se, but she has this, and we all know how dumb this move is. Even outside of the enhanced state, it's really dumb, but especially in the enhanced state, it is absolutely absurd. It is 0 on block. It can stagger pressure really well. It just locks you down. It's one of the best 13 frame moves in the game, straight up. It's absolutely ridiculous. So there are a couple of options to beat this so you don't get completely locked down if you have the right read. The first thing is, of course, that the second hit when she's not in the enhanced state is -11. And if you play a character with a punch parry, then you can Sabaki the second hit. That also means that you can power crush the second hit. Well, it's really in the other order. But those are your options for this. If you have the read, you can power crush and you can Sabaki. Now, the thing is, when the opponent is in the enhanced state, you cannot you cannot Sabaki this. You can still power crush it though. So even though this move is just like you throw down at 0, there is counterplay. You're also going to notice a pattern throughout this video that a lot of the counterplay to these new moves is power crush. I think their intention behind Season 2 was to try incentivizing and pushing players to start using power crush more to beat these things, and it was a terrible idea, but that's how you beat it. So if you have a read against an Asuka when they're in the enhanced state that they're gonna do the second hit, power crush them. That's your best option. Now, this of course can be, Asuka isn't a great example because she has an elbow here, but this can be a little bit tricky because even though Asuka is -9 here when the first move is blocked, a lot of power crushes are going to be like around 20 frames. And if you have a power crush that has a punch or a kick, then she can of course Sabaki the power crush, and she can punish it too. So you are putting yourself at quite a big risk if you do that, but if you have the read, that is the way to counter and to stop her from being able to abuse this. All right, Azucena. Azucena now has a couple of things. First off, she can go in the stance off of running 3-2. You don't really have many options out of this because you're only +5. One thing that you can do is sidestep, and this kind of goes into the new move, the stance down 3, right? So if we set up Azucena to do this here and then do the down 3, then the way that you really counter this, because if we try power crushing, she just beats it. Like, the frames are weird. This is random. Lydia's power crush, as an example, will power crush through the move, but then it'll just whiff like it's a high because Azucena gets so low to the ground. You can see here in this example that it just beats the power crush straight up. So the way that you beat this is sidewalk left. That's the way you beat down 3 if you have a read. The thing is, though, that she has a bunch of moves that track to sidewalk left. demonstrate it here, but just her 2, for example, after this is blocked, will track to sidewalk left. And it's also a 14 frame move, meaning you can't jab interrupt it. So you would have to say it with me, power crush, right? We have to power crush when she does this if we have the read. Other things that track as well, if she does the 3, this is also going to track. If she does the low, it tracks to sidestep left, as we'll see. If she does the 4, it tracks sidestep left. If she does the down 4, it tracks the sidestep left. So yeah, if she does this move, the 4, and if she does the down 4, these both also track to sidestep left. So the counterplay option you have for the down 3 is countered by a bunch of other moves she can do. And again, to counter these moves like the 2 and the 4, the main option that you want to do is power crush, right? Because she's +5 here. She could do the jab. This is her fastest move out of the stance. Let me actually stop her recording here. Boop, boop. Do the jab here, 13 frames. And as you'll see, just because of how the frames work out, power crush still works. If you have a high power crush, good luck. But again, the down 3 kind of just beats that randomly. Some characters it does, some characters it doesn't. So it's a true mix-up. Like, you don't really have any good options out of here. You can't really jab because a lot of moves are going to beat her. You can't sidestep because like the heat engager and stuff track. So you can only do stuff if you have a proper read. The ball is always in Azucena's court. You as the defender are going to have less options than she does. It's kind of ridiculous. But the nice thing here is that Power Crush does beat all of her mids. All of her mids, all of her highs out of the stance after running 3-2 in the stance, that beats it. The only thing that wins is lows, and out of the stance, the lows aren't doing anything special on counter hit. So that's the saving grace here. Like, if she does this on counter hit, it's the same as normal hit. If she does this on counter hit, it's kind of the same as normal hit, right? So it doesn't really make much of a difference. The thing is, though, if you do Power Crush, it's not just that she can do the lows, right? Because if she does this and goes in the stance, she can sidestep. And then if she sidesteps, of course, and well, we have a high here, she can just sidestep around your Power Crush. So depending on the character, Heat Burst might actually be your best option because just of how much Heat Burst tracks. I should turn off the counter hit here. But just because of how much Heat Burst tracks, like, you know, Bryan's, for example, infamous for that. If you have a heat burst, that tracks sidestep, then that's going to be the best thing you can do here to get Azucena off of you. Otherwise, Azucena is just always going to have options to be able to absolutely destroy you when she does this move. It's kind of busted. You don't really have any great options here. Azucena isn't a sidestep right character instead of sidestep left, only this move is sidestep left. Well, okay, that's the other thing too. If I set Azucena to do this, hold on. I didn't write this down on my notes, but you can see that tracks both ways after this. So it doesn't matter what way you sidestep, like the mid is going to track you. And also remember that, again, the mid is safe, it's -8. So there's just no counterplay to this except for Sabaki and Power Crush. That's it, that's all you have. So like, yeah, I can Sabaki this here if I have a punch parry, but then of course I'm opening myself up to, like, if she delays it, you know? If she, I can actually record her to do this. If she does, oh God, I guess I'm delaying it too much for the sake of demonstration here. But you get the point, like she can delay it and then, yeah, that's the idea. That's what I was trying to show. So there's just not anything you can do about this. It's just, yeah, it's awful. Yeah, and then also keep in mind too, this is something else I should point out, but then also keep in mind if you do Power Crush when Azucena is in heat, she can do Heat Smash from here. So if you do Power Crush, then she just wins with Heat Smash. So it becomes an like the mix-up is already hard enough to deal with, and it becomes even harder when she's in heat. So, in my opinion, the best thing to do about running 3-2 is actually just like intentionally get hit by it. I think that this is a move that is probably better on block than it is on a hit just because of how ridiculous the mix-up situation is. Unless you have an Azucena that's being really obvious about it, just having to deal with this whole thing is absurd. And I'd rather just take my chances of like getting hit by this when I'm sidestepping and trying to Power Crush it than blocking and deal with the mix-up. It's dumb. rather take the -8 because I can do down 4-2, down 3-1-2, down back 3, etc. Power crushing is risky. Yeah, but it's the only way to stop her from being able to just mindlessly throw that out. If you're not power crushing, then it's like, yeah, it's -8, but what's stopping Azucena from doing that over and over and over again? And then when like your back's to the wall doing this, right? Because now there's just no consequence to her throwing out the mids and the lows. You have to do something to stop it, to stop her from being able to stop for this wall situation and getting the wall splat and the full combo for free. I don't remember exactly how this has to be spaced to do this, but you know, if there's a balcony break, this breaks the balcony, right? So that's the problem. There's another thing here to talk about, and that is going to be the down 3. And the down 3 is the new move that she gets out of stance. It's really obnoxious here. You can see that she gets the from crouch mix up here, and if you try sidestepping either way, you just get clipped. Maybe like Lily or someone can sidestep this. I know that I've had an instance or two before where I've sidestepped this just in neutral, but in this situation, realistically, you're not going to be able to sidestep this. Nice thing though is that she's actually only +2 after this gets blocked, and this is a 17 frame move, which means that of course you can launch her, but then the problem with launching her or doing like, I don't know, let's say like a down forward 1 here to interrupt, which is something you absolutely can do, is if she does this and then does the 1, which is the 13 frame counter hit launcher, then, well, you get counter hit launched, right? And that's always the scary part. But again, she's only +2 and this is 13 frames. So the idea is that you down jab here. That's the counterplay. Now, of course, again, like this counterplay that the Azucena can do here, if she just like sidesteps, for example, when you down jab, then you get launched, right? She can also, of course, just low parry here. It's not like she's in a stance or anything. So if you down jab and she low parries, then yeah, that's just, again, you get comboed. I guess it's not working in the recording here, but she has options to be able to beat that too. So you have to take a high risk for not a lot of reward, but really what your reward is not having to actually deal with the mix-up. And it's going to force Azucena after this move in the future to not always go for the from crouch mix-up. And that means even though it's +2, you can sometimes take your turn back. Now, that said, again, if you take your turn back, then if she does this, she can do this for free because it's safe, counter hit launcher, and then boom, you're dead. So, like, it's still not great. The risk reward is heavily in Azucena's favor. It's actually ridiculous. But those are your options, right? So if she tries forcing the mix-up, you down jab. She can also, if she really wants to, while rising 4, and that's going to beat it anyway, so good luck. And then if you have a hard read that she's going to do the low or something, then the low is obviously launch, punishable, and block, so you can do that too. Okay, and then finally, we have two more new things with Azucena here, and that is going to be her new in-heat Librador down 3+4. I don't think it's Libra. I think it's called something else. I just have it written down because that's how I remember it. I don't know what the name is. It's +4 on block. And that means that you're in a true frame trap situation, right? You can't really do anything here. You're kind of stuck on options, and she can go in the crouch from this, and then of course if she does while rising 1, then boom, counter hit launch if you try down jabbing, right? So you're locked into the mix-up. Now, the thing is, the way that you can beat this, because of the pushback here, you can just backdash and then whiff punish her for doing this. This I didn't remember because I didn't write down my notes. Sorry about that. But yeah, you can just backdash and then you can launch punish her for doing this. So it's not like it's a perfect mix-up, although it is very annoying. But a simple backdash and duck is going to be a good option to be able to avoid both moves. Now, if we're just talking about it only being in heat, then that would be one thing. But down 1. Yeah. So she can just do this in neutral too without heat, and then this becomes a true mix-up, and we can't backdash out of it. So the down 1 is actually better. The move outside of heat is better than the move that she does out of stance in heat. And as you can see, again, like there's no counterplay to this. Like we can't sidestep it, we can't backdash. The only thing that we can do is, again, power crush. Like I said, a theme that you're going to notice. And yeah, if you do that, then you get counter hit by the low. So fun character. Anyway, I'm done looking at Azucena. I hate this character. Moving on to Bryan. Okay, so Bryan. I mean, Bryan is a whole can of worms at this point. The main thing that he got is this new move, and he also got his new crouching low, right? These are the two main things. The thing to keep in mind here is that if you have a read that Bryan is going to do this move, I don't actually know what Bryan's power crush is, but the way you beat this is actually sidestep left. For some reason, if you sidestep right, you can see that tracks, and then the second hit whiffs, but it's only -6, even though only the first hit hits. So it's just really dumb. If you step block at the right time, then it's more punishable, and you can actually get a launch punish on it. But to fully avoid this move, you have to sidestep left for some reason. It's ridiculous. So I think the main thing to remember with Bryan isn't necessarily anything specific with the moves, because frankly, these moves have no counterplay, but that's the point. The idea that the weakness behind these moves, the idea behind the weakness with these moves is that they require a resource, right? Like back 1+2 of Bryan obviously doesn't exist if I don't have the Snake Eyes resource, so I have to actually be able to activate that in some way before I can start doing these moves. Not to say that's balanced, but the point is that, yeah, Bryan's going to do these moves, and yeah, they're ridiculous. But after you weather the storm a bit, and after he gets out of heat, then he can't do this anymore. So you're a little bit more open, and you don't have to deal with the plus frame situation as much. So that's really the only advice I can give. Because these moves are so oppressive and so ridiculous when he's in Snake Eye, just be patient. Don't attack into these things. Accept the fact that these moves are completely broken and busted and you can't really do anything about it. And just let him do it so that his resources and his heat gets drained. And then when he's out of that, you don't have to deal with it anymore. All right, so Claudio. Claudio doesn't really have any major changes except for the gun. So the gun, keep in mind, outside of Starburst, uncharged, -13 on block. And if you try sidestepping here, it jails if he does it immediately. Now, no Claudio player is going to do this fast. They're gonna make it so that it does not jail, so you can actually get hit by it for trying to sidestep it. So it's going to look something like this. And if we go back here and we try sidestepping here, you can see that if we try sidestepping, we're going to get hit. But also look at the damage, right? Like, this is barely any damage. It's 13. It's like a jab. Oh, I guess something like this. It's less than a 10-frame punish. So it's not a big deal. Taking the risk to sidestep this, especially if they're doing it uncharged, is probably something that you want to do. Now that said, again, if Claudio doesn't have Starburst and he does this, then it's only 0 on block. The main advantage for Claudio is that he gets access to Starburst, right? And that's a huge thing, especially when you still have, like, you know, the DP, which is still safe on block, although now it's -9. So that's more what you're trying to avoid than anything, and the minor amount of health that you lose here for trying to sidestep this isn't a big deal. So if you think that he's gonna fully charge it, it's worth trying to sidestep even if you're gonna take that damage so you can get the launch. Now, the part where this gets a little bit trickier is when he is in Starburst, because this move, of course, gets enhanced in Starburst. It becomes +1 and does a decent amount of chip damage. Again, it's not that big of a deal if you block it, and if he does it immediately, it jails, so it's no big deal. The problem is that when he fully charges it, it becomes a guard break at +14. So that's a bit of a problem, and the counterplay is the same. You sidestep it. But the thing is, we'll sound the sidestep like this. If I charge it and then give him the sidestep, you can see that, you know, it's still going to hit, right? And that sucks. But again, at the end of the day, as long as your back's not to a wall, it's only 20 damage. And like, yeah, 20 damage is quite a bit, but the guard break is worse, right? So we gotta think. That's hilarious. We gotta think of like the short term and the long term. We get scared of sidestepping this because we know if we sidestep it and we're wrong, we're taking 20 damage. But we don't think about the guard break doing, well, significantly more than 20 damage, right? Because he's +14. So that's what you really got to keep in mind. Now, of course, if you keep sidestepping and keep getting hit by this over and over again, then that's going to be a problem. But that's just a risk that you have to kind of mitigate with reads. It's a pretty dumb move to have to deal with, but that's the general counterplay to it. Yeah, exactly. Lissetto's right. The big deal is if he has the wall, right? So if he sets this up for you and your back's to the wall, then it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you just block it and he does the full charge version, he of course gets a wall splat because he's plus 14. If you try sidestepping it and he doesn't fully charge it, then he wall splats you for trying to sidestep it, and even if you block it, he's only plus 1. Or he is still plus 1. So it's just, it's a terrible situation. And so the main thing you have to think about with this move, because of that, is just like where you are relative to the wall. You know, you have to be very mindful of Claudio getting your back to the wall in neutral. Of course, if he combos you, then there's not much you can do about that, but you should be trying to avoid the wall at all costs, especially when he's in heat and when he's in starburst, because this move is just like, you can't beat it if your back gets to the wall. Because there's so little with him, we'll just go over a couple more things that are important to remember. While standing 1-1 now is a wall splatting 12 frame move that is now safe on block. The second hit used to be -12 for some reason, even though the mid is safe. It is now -12, but the second hit does not gel. You can duck it. And then while standing 3 now is -12. Not that anyone uses this move, but no one's gonna really use it now anyway. So Clive only got one thing, and that's this. And a lot of people are calling this stupid. A lot of people are calling this busted. I don't think it is. I think that a lot of Tekken players just don't really know how to deal with zoning tools. And when it comes to zoning tools in a 3D fighting game, this honestly is pretty tame. Like, you just have to react to the animation and duck this on reaction. That's all there is to it. When the opponent is up close to a point where it's not reactable, then it's unsafe on block. It's whatever, you know, it's a little bit annoying, but really the main thing here is that Tekken players, again, just aren't used to zoning tools, and they're not used to dealing with them. But again, in terms of Clive, it's super easy. If he's up close and he does this for some reason and you just punish him, if you ever block this and you move in on him, and if he does it from far enough away that will grab you on block, it's reactable. So you just duck the high. A little bit annoying to deal with, yes, but it's really, like, if you know how to deal with it, it's not that big of a deal for the most part. Issue with Clive isn't the new grab, and it's everything else that he already had. That's also true. Like, Clive can pair this zoning tool with, like, the back 1+2 for zoning, for example, which is really obnoxious, with the Phoenix shift. You know, like, he has a lot of things to be able to use here, and he's become more of a true zoning character because of this move. But again, it's not really a big deal. Now, the other change that he got to as well is forward 1+2. The main purpose for this move in Season 2, in my opinion, obviously I don't know if this is true or not, but the main reason why this existed is because after you did a heat engager, you could just power crush through his while running 2. If you did this while running 2, power crush beats it. You know? And because of that, what you ended up having to do with Clive is, in order to beat this, take a bit of a risk. And that risk was you could do down back 4 and launch power crush. You can still do this. Now in Season 2, my opinion, the point of the forward 1+2 was to make it so that Clive had a mid he could do to beat power crush. Just making it so that his post heat engager situation was unbeatable. Like, he had an option that he could do for everything. The forward 1+2 was, of course, safe. +3 actually on block. Absurd move. And on counter hit, when it did beat power crush, which again, the intention, as far as I'm concerned, it gave you basically a combo's worth of damage. Now, in Season 2, that's got nerfed so that it does less damage. But the other thing is, because of the universal changes to heat engager and the frames on heat engager, forward 1+2 now no longer serves its purpose. They can still power crush you through the forward 1+2, and so this move kind of just doesn't. It's a good long range move. It's a good just plus on block move for Clive to throw out here. But in terms of him using this after like a heat engager or something, it's not like, it's just not doing anything. So yeah, something to think about as well if you were concerned about that in the past with Clive doing this after a heat engager situation. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You can just power crush through it now. All right, so Devil Jin. Like, Devil Jin didn't really get any changes that are important to talk about in terms of counterplay. A lot of the things Devil Jin is doing is, like, obviously the new House Sweep move. However you do it, I have no idea. it's just something that he does now that does more damage. That's the case with a lot of moves, like down forward 1-2 being natural is just something he's going to throw out more. So the only thing really to talk about is down forward 1-4 here, which is not natural on normal hit. It's only going to hit if you try ducking, specifically the high after this. That's kind of the point. It's -13. But the thing is, when Devil Jin hits this, he can go into Morning Crow, and he goes into his So Plus that there's just no counterplay. Like, you can't power crush through anything. You can't sidestep anything. You can't do anything to actually beat this mix-up. You can't do anything. So that's something to remember, is just like, if this does hit you, you have to eat the mix. There's nothing that you can do about it. Unlike some other things that, so if you block it, you can stop it with Devil Jin. You just can't do it here. Okay, it's just been pointed out to me that Devil Jin also has another thing out of Morning Crow. It's a mix-up that I haven't seen before, so I didn't know this was a thing. But he can do Morning Crow 4-2, which is going to be a mid-mid, and then he can go into the Heaven's Gate or whatever, and then he can do 4-1. So because this one is a 40 frame move, it's a high, you just duck it, and if you block this, then you just launch him, because look how long it's going to take for him to do the last hit. So if he just does this, then he can remain safe here. But if Devil Jin here will set this up to record here, if he does the last hit and block the first two, then even if he does the follow-up, you should still be able to interrupt this. Yeah, I just can't with Devil Jin because I'm an idiot, but yeah, there you go. We can just do our easy 15 frame launcher, and there you go. You get the punish on that. Yay, I got electric punish. All right, Dragunov. So the main thing to talk about with Dragunov is the pigeon roll. This stupid move. The only thing I have to say about this is a pure gimmick. Launch it. Like, you can launch this on block. You can launch this on hit. Like, this doesn't do anything. You just launch him. And the best part is, too, because of how slow it is, you can just react to him rolling and then do this. And it gets even better, too, because then you think, well, if he does the pigeon roll, then surely he can just block, right? Surely he can just block. No, he can't. This is a punish. Well, no, not on hit. Sorry. No, you can do a down jab on hit. Yeah. So you can still punish this on hit. And then on block, you can just launch him for doing it. So, like, there's nothing here. This is a pure gimmick. It's a pure gimmick. It doesn't do anything. This is the same off of down forward 1 as well. Off of down forward 1, you can see that even on hit here, Drag's -2. It's just not real. Don't fall for this. So Eddy got like one new move here. It's going to be up forward 1-3. This move is mid-mid. And he also has a high in here. I've tried so hard to react to the two hits. I don't think you can. The startup animation is just so similar with how he kind of spins that I think it is just barely unreactable. I might be wrong about this. Maybe with enough time you can, but I don't think it is. So if you get a read on the high, which is a heat engager, then you duck it and you launch him. The mid, meanwhile, is more scary at the wall than anything. On hit, it gives him one of his stacks. It does 23 damage, which is quite good. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. It's just not good to deal with all round. Thankfully, the mid is -13. And if he goes into stance here, he's -22 on block, so you can just launch him on reaction. And even on hit, he's -12. So if he does this into stance and then does power crush, you can launch him out of that. Like, that's pretty much how it works. If you have a read that he's going to go in the stance, then you launch him. If you don't, then you block the mid and he's -13. And then if you have a read on the high, you duck down. There are a lot of things to keep track of here, but as long as you know how these generally work, then it's pretty easy to find the right option if you have the right read. Now, the other thing that Eddy got to is 1-2 into stance. And this seems like a pretty unassuming change. It went from, I think, +4 to +6 or something, +3 to +6. I don't remember exactly what it is. But what happened here with this change is that now, well, before I should say, if Eddy went into this stance and did power crush, okay, trying that again. So on block here, if Eddy did this and then did power crush, down forward one would be able to float him out of it. So that was kind of the punish if you did that. Now, because of the change in frames, you have to jab him out of it if he does power crush. But the thing is that if he does this and goes into stance, now, I should say before, down forward one would also hit him out of the 3. But now, because you have to jab him out of the power crush, that beats jab. So on block 1-2 here in the stance gives Eddy a true mix-up. If you try down forward one-ing him, then he can power crush you out of it. So yeah, one thing that you can do here too is if he does this, you can down jab him, and that's obviously going to beat both options, and that's kind of gonna be a go-to now instead of down forward one. But the thing is, now if Eddy is in his enhanced state level 1 and he does this and goes into stance, then he gets a parry now. Try that again, as you can see. So that might be the point why they gave this to him in the first place, or maybe the reason why they did this is to give this an actual use. But when he's at 2 stacks, he also gets a full launcher on you. So when he's at 2 of his stacks, then his 1-2 on block in the stance becomes a true mix-up. You don't really have any good counterplay, any good way to deal with it. He has moves to be able to stop all of the options that you're going to do, and the risk rewards is generally skewed in Eddy's favor. So the way to think about this is that when he does this move on block, when he does 1-2 on block, and he has no stacks, down jab is going to be a good option. That option selects everything in the stance and is going to float him. If he has 1 stack, then it's going to be a little bit more risky because he has that auto low parry, but it's not going to be the end of the world if that hits you. And then if he has 2 stacks and you just die. All right, Feng. Feng's main changes with Fishhook. Fishhook has a new extension. The new extension is high. When he's not in heat, he doesn't have a mid extension here. So you just duck the high and then you launch him. That's fine. Also, another thing as well about this is that the first hit is -10. So if he's just using Fishhook like a normal old Fishhook and he doesn't do the high extension, then you can punish him for it. So the other thing with Fishhook now too is that if he presses down and forward, he goes into stance. And this is a little bit tricky. So generally speaking, depending on the character, sidewalk right beats every option here. If he does the headbutt here, for example, then after this, sidewalk or sidestep right beats it. Even on hit, sidestep right can beat this. So you do have options to be able to deal with this. If he goes into here and does the WoW Rising 4, hold on a second. Sidestep right block is going to be an option to... Sorry, not sidestep right block. You just sidestep this. Yeah. I'm thinking of the wrong thing. Yeah, so sidestep right, even with the 4, the fastest move, will also beat this, and then you can get a launch on him. So you have those as options. But where this becomes a little bit tricky is even though all of the moves here you can sidestep right against Feng, for some reason, the 3 has a bit of funny tracking on it. So if we sidestep right here, then okay, now it's just not working. Maybe it's stage dependent. Because when I was testing this for my notes, when I sidestepped this to the right, I got quit by it. So this might be a stage dependent thing. I don't know. That's hilarious. But yeah, obviously you can't sidestep this on hit, but I guess on block you can sidestep it right. So that's cool. If you block this and he goes into stance, then sidestep right is a pretty good option to be able to deal with it. Now, going into heat, he now has back 3-4 or back 4-3 plus 4. Now, thankfully, this move is extremely linear. If you block the first hit while he's in heat, second hit, you can sidestep right very easily. So, again, there is counterplay to this. But problem is, if he goes in the back turn here and you don't sidestep this, then he's not only super plus, but now back turn 2, the heat engager is safe on block at -9. So the mix-up that he gets out of this from back turn is absurd, to put it lightly. Like, he has the low launcher, that's 18 frames, and he has the mid, which is 19 frames and is safe on block. And also you can see just based on the frames here that this is so plus that you can't like sidestep this, you can't really power crush it, you can't really do, but I mean, like power crush, like it doesn't matter because this is just the low's a launcher. So yeah, you don't have a lot of options. And then if he's in back turn, he can of course loop the pressure with back turn 3, go in the stance off this at +8, and then just keep going and going and going. So if you end up blocking the 3 + 4, then you put into a really rough scenario. And then of course, for some reason too, this off of the fish hook, this is natural on block. So that's also just like, that's just great. But here's what I will say too. If you're concerned about the mid or the high, never allow yourself to block the mid. Because at the end of the day, the mid, you can see how much it knocks the opponent back, and it's only doing 23 damage, right? Whereas, if we are in back turn here, in heat, and let's just say that we block this. Say we're scared of the mid and we block this, right? Boop, boop, go here, heat dash, and then we can get full combo off of that after we heat dash, because of course, doing this, we have to be in heat, right? So, let's go here, and then do this, and then boop. Yeah, and then you get full combo off of that, right? So you're taking significantly more damage than if you just get hit by the move, and it's the same with the low, because of course the low is a screw, and then if we are in heat, then we can convert farther because we have our heat dash available, even though it already tornadoes. So because of that, and because of how oppressive the mix-up is, on top of the fact that he can just do the 3, and then he just does all of this chip, like he does 9 chip damage, and then he can loop this, you're better off just being hit by the mid. So if you're ever in a situation where fish hook comes out, you should always either sidestep or duck. You should never allow yourself to block this second hit, because like you're already taking the 4 chip damage, 9 if he does the 3, you're taking the chip damage if he does the heat dash, and he's going to be plus, right? So this is 4, and then 6, so that's 10. That's already half of the damage you would have taken if you just got hit by the move. So this is a move that's just, in my opinion, better for Feng on hit or on block than it is on hit. And because of that, you should just always try avoiding this move as much as possible. I also gave that stance transition to the 2 and back 3 as well. Yeah, back 3 I actually have in my notes. So here's the thing. Back 3, obviously very plus. This is a very difficult situation to deal with on block. Because Feng is +6 here, you can still sidewalk right a couple of things. You can sidewalk right that. For this move, maybe this is what I was thinking of before. You can sidewalk right the launcher, but yeah, you can sidewalk right a lot of the options here. But the one thing that you can't sidewalk right is the low. You can't sidewalk right the low. The low will track. Maybe again, if you're like Lily or something, you can, but you can't sidewalk right the low. So yeah, this move is just a ridiculous plus block move. It's absurd. He just gets everything after it. It's one of the best mids in the game, and just good luck dealing with it. Okay, and then the last thing I got here to tell you is that the change to forward 3 means that forward 3 into stance 1 + 2 will now trade with a jab. So if you try jab checking Feng here, let me am I stupid? Why is it, why is he not doing jab? He's +8. Is the frame dial lying to me? This is an 18 frame move. I know I tested this. But regardless, this is so much more plus now that if Feng does this 1 + 2, then it's just going to knock you down. And then he gets a guaranteed follow-up after it. So just something to keep in mind as well when it comes to this whole situation. And then the last thing that I'll talk about too with Feng, this new move that he got while standing 1-3, the second hit's a high. I know it looks like a mid. This is a new heat engage. You're going to see Feng starting out a lot. Second hit's a high, so make sure that you're ducking that. All right, Heihachi. While running 1 + 2 is a high, it leaves him plus enough that you can't stop the mix-up. Next. So, Hwoarang. I mean, Hwoarang's biggest thing that we all know about is this garbage. This move right here. The thing is, though, that it leaves Hwoarang in left flamingo at +6. And that means that, yes, you can power crush through all of his mids and highs. Except if he's in heat and he does heat smash. So you do have options to be able to beat this. He is in flamingo, you can just do this. And because he's forced into flamingo as well, if you have rage, then you can just rage on him if he does this. So That's really all there is to it. Again, like, he can do the lows, and he has quite good lows to be able to deal with Power Crush, of course. So like this one, for example, is already +4 on hit, but is just going to knock down on counter hit if it beats the Power Crush. So Hwoarang does have good options for this, even more if he's in heat. But like I said before, you're gonna notice a pattern where a lot of the way that you stop these mix-ups is just with Power Crush. And even on hit here, Power Crush is the answer. Now, the other thing too that we need to talk about is his other new move, which is Right Flamingo for 3. And Right Flamingo for 3 is a mid-mid that you have to sidestep right. So if he goes into Right Flamingo, you sidestep right, and then boom. Like, you're out of it. The thing is, though, that on block, this leaves you at -4. And, like, yes, you can sidestep moves, and yes, you can still, like, Power Crush him because it's a similar situation as the low. And, yeah, you do have options to be able to beat this, but you're still being put in a mix-up situation. Now, the thing is, if you just intentionally get hit by the second hit, look how far back that both of you are. Like, Hwoarang's in Flamingo stance, so he has to exit Flamingo stance while you're getting up. You reset neutral here, and chances are you're going to have better approach tools than Hwoarang does. Like, maybe you don't. You know, maybe you play, like, I don't know, like, what character doesn't have good approach tools at this point? But you're resetting neutral. You don't have to deal with the mix-up. You can intentionally get hit by this move, choose to just take the 20 damage so that you avoid taking potentially more damage, like, in the mix-up if you guess wrong. So that's a way to reset neutral if you want to, and this is something I recommend doing. I recommend intentionally getting hit by this move if you have a lot of health and the opponent, Hwoarang, doesn't. If the opponent is in, like, rage and you're at, like, full health, then why deal with the mix-up when one good poke or one good, like, neutral situation is going to kill him anyway? Why take the risk? Why deal with the mix-up? This is another move that, in my opinion, is better on block for Hwoarang than it is on hit, so I just intentionally get hit by this move, and it works wonders for me when I do play against Hwoarang. Again, the main thing here is that, like, the second hit you did, there's no counterplay, you can't sidestep it, you can't Power Crush it, you have to sidestep the first hit specifically in order to be able to beat this. So, yeah. All right, Jack is a really simple one. I forgot to change the opposing character, but there's not really much to talk about. The main thing was, of course, the 2-1 in the clap. That's gone now. On block with 2-1, you can just float him out of this. Even on hit here, we'll actually set this up so that on hit, the opposing Hwoarang will do a Power Crush here. And even on hit here after the 2-1, you can just, again, the magic words, you can Power Crush him out of this. So that's the main change to clap. That was the biggest problem with Jack. That's not an issue anymore. And then really the only thing you have to watch out for is Gamma Howl stuff. Mainly Jack is going to get Gamma Howl after moves that he has to charge. So say the back one, for example, that's going to put him in Gamma Howl, and that is going to allow him to get access to these moves that he would normally only get while in heat. As if he wasn't, like, nightmare enough already. Moving on to Jin. Same as I've been saying throughout this entire video, while running into stance, Power Crush beats everything. He does this, it beats it. He does that, you just duck under it. In this case, it trades is just because of the frames that comes out. And if you have a 20 frame Power Crush, then it's going to win here. It's reacting like this because it's this is on a down and this is a high, but this works as well. Power Crush is going to be all of the mids. So, yeah. That is the main thing to look at, but of course, because, again, Power Crush is intended to beat this mix-up. If he's in heat, then he can do Heat Smash. Now you're starting to understand why characters get Heat Smash when they're in stances, because the mix-up is intended that Power Crush beats everything. So, cool. That's really it. Obviously, Jin can do, like, down 1+2 here. He can obviously just not go in the stance. He can go in the stance, and then however you cancel the stance, I don't know. I really just, I have no idea. He can do it like that, and then block the Power Crush, right? So it's not, like, a perfect solution. Like, there are things that he can do, but you can see even if he, like, cancels this into Wild Rising 4, Power Crush wins here. So, like, everything wins. Or everything loses, I should say. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. The odd notable changes for Jin to keep in mind is that up forward 2, his little sidestep move is now punishable at -10. And his 2144 now is, obviously we know that 214 is -10 now. And to compensate for that for some reason, because he really needed that, 2144, this move is now -12 on block instead of staggering, being launch punishable. So just stuff to keep in mind. All right, so Jun. Jun's biggest thing here is that now after she goes into Izumo, the tracking on the moves has been reduced and the frames on this unblock has been reduced. So now, unhit, Jun still kind of gets the same mix-up because of how plush she is. But if you end up blocking like 1-2-2 or up 2 or any of these moves that put her into Izumo, you can sidestep it right. You can sidestep every one of these options right. So I have Jun set up now to do up 1 into all of these moves. You can see sidestep right on the 1, sidestep right on the 4, which you weren't able to do before. See sidestep right on the 4. Boop, boop, sidestep right in the 3. So all of these you can now sidestep and then launch her for it. Every single move that Jun has out of this stance in Izumo, you can sidestep, except for the forward 1+2, the homing move. But you don't have to be too scared of this because it doesn't do a whole lot on hit and is -6 on block, which is a little bit annoying. It means that if you try jabbing afterwards, then she can sabaki you. If you block this, actually, let me show this up. Or show this up. Let me demonstrate this real quick. See, you can get sabaki'd if you try jabbing. So you have to be mindful of that. And that's where knowing like what your power crushes beat, what your jabs beat, all of that. So if you try jabbing Jun here, then the 1 is going to be able to beat you. And if you try jabbing, then of course, like you're going to get counter hit by the 4, right? But this is going to be a way that you can hit Jun out of the forward 1+2. Obviously, down forward 1 is also going to lose to the 1 here. It's also going to lose to the 3, but it can beat like the 4 and the forward 1+2. And then, of course, you have Power Crush, which, again, we can just show like the fastest move here. Again, as the theme is, Power Crush beats everything here except for the low, right? So if you don't know if she's going to do like the 3 or the 1 or the forward 1+2, like say you're trying to sidestep right here after this is blocked and she keeps going for either the mids or the highs, like she's trying to do the heat engager or something and you just don't know what she's going to do, but she's not specifically doing the low, then your Power Crush is going to option select all of that. And the way that Jun is going to beat that, of course, is with the low, and you have to be a little bit careful here because the low is a counter hit launcher. So those are your options. Like if she isn't doing the homing move, then you just sidestep right here. If she is doing the homing move, then you can either jab her out of it or you can power crush depending on the options that she's doing. Or you can also down jab because obviously that's a low. And the other move that wins is a high as well. And if you do a down jab, then if I remember off the top of my head, the only thing that wins in that case is going to be the heat engager, the 3. To put it in a little bit more simply, default should be sidestep right because sidestep right, the risk that it's posed to you is basically nothing and Jun gets very low reward out of it. If she's doing the homing move a lot and if you want to respond to that, then you can do the power crush or you can try jabbing her out of it, but you don't have to respond to the mix-up. So another thing to point out too, just in case you like end up getting hit by one of these moves. So let's say you do down jab here. Let's say you do down jab here and get hit by the mid. Before, Jun used to guarantee get forward 1+2, like you couldn't deal with it. Now you can just, oh, I guess you gotta sidestep it right. My bad. But now you can just sidestep this. So like this is no big deal. You can very easily deal with this mix-up if you do end up getting hit by the heat engager because you guessed wrong on like a down jab or something. It's very easy to sidestep and you can just launch her. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And then I guess the last thing to talk about that you see Jun players doing a lot now, if we activate the enhanced state here for the opponent, is if Jun is in this and does this gun. This is a very tricky thing to deal with just because of like how much range it has, of course. When she's at her full whatever the hell this is, like you can see that this range is absurd. But what you have to remember is that you don't necessarily have to like counter this move because Jun is still -20 here, even at tip range. So if you're just blocking this and then running in, like what is Jun going to do if you just run in? You know, you shouldn't always be trying to like counter this move with sidestep like it's a Devil Jin laser, especially because you can see how much tracking this has on it if you step a little bit early. And this is like what you commonly do in Tekken, right? You commonly you're like, oh, I want to like sidestep the move. I see her go in the stance. Let me sidestep it. Nope, I get hit. And so it feels really bad because a lot of Tekken players are doing this and it just feels like a full screen projectile, it doesn't have a lot of counterplay. And the way that you actually approach the situation is just like you would do with zoning tools in other 3D fighting games like Soul Calibur. If you block this, you just dash in. Like, this is how you beat it. It's really annoying to deal with, but again, when Jun's -20, like, what is she going to do to stop you from just doing that? Because if she tries attacking afterwards, then you just get to hit her. She doesn't have the frames to be able to do anything. So if you block this, then, like, you just go in and enforce your, whatever your game is. All right, King. Thankfully, King is a really simple one as well. 2, 3, 3. Yeah, so the first thing is that this is -13 on block, right? So if he doesn't charge this at all, then you just punish him for it. That's the main thing. Now, if he does charge this, this has a 14 frame interrupt window. So if I'm playing King here, you can see down forward 1, that's going to interrupt it. I can also sidestep it to the left. I can't sidestep it to the right for some reason, don't ask me why, but you can sidestep this specifically to the left. And of course, if you want to power crush to do this, you can. Super simple to remember, just sidestep left if he charges it. If he doesn't charge it, then you punish him for it. Now, the other thing is too, let's say that you block this, because you're going to have to block this at some point. If you have a read that he's going to charge a stance, you just hit him out of this. That's it. If you have a read that he's going to run at you like this, you just knock him out of the stance. Now, of course, this changes if he's in heat, but if he's in heat, then you just grab him. And keep in mind, too, that, of course, King can block while he's in the stance, so you don't want to do anything that's too dangerous. But just a simple while rising 4, if you have a read that he's going to try charging the stance to get something more enhanced, can be beneficial to you. So, there are multiple points where you can interrupt this. There are multiple times where you can read this. It's just really annoying to deal with, especially as you saw that second hit can realign as well if you sidestep the first hit. So, yeah, it's overall really annoying to deal with, but that's the general counterplay to it. And then last, finally, we have the bears for this video, for part 1 of this. If you find this video helpful and you do like it, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. This video obviously took a really long time to record. We are currently about an hour and a half in the recording, so there's a lot to talk about here, but I do hope that this has helped you out. So finally with Kuma is really simple. He got 2 main things. He got sidestep 1+2, which if I turned off this little stand block thing, it puts him into a hunting stance. Unfortunately, this is a move that doesn't have a lot of counterplay to it. It leaves him at +6, and he can just do this 12 frame move, which means that not even Power Crush is going to be able to beat this. So Kuma just kind of can't, or the opponent can't really deal with this if you block this. Like, Kuma just gets a mix-up here. And then, of course, he has the Power Crush, the new Heat Engager Power Crush one, the few remaining, -14 on block. But if you try doing anything here with him being +6 and him going into hunting, he can just do this. So he gets a free mix-up out here on block. There's not really a lot that you can do about it. And then lastly, when it comes to the Bear Electric into Heat Smash situation, which I should actually have the opponent doing here, you can now sidestep this to the right. It still has really good tracking. It still tracks extremely well to sidestep, including sidestep right and even sidestep left, but it's similar to the Bear Electric now. You can kind of see how that ended up working out too. But yeah, you can see that even bears can sidestep this with the right timing. So it's no longer a case where they're just able to do electric, and then hit you with the salmon. You have an option now to be able to beat that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's everything for part 1. Obviously, this video was very long. That's why I was splitting this into 2 parts. I also have to do my research on the rest of the characters. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you found this helpful. I hope that this is going to help you out with dealing with some of these obnoxious, absurd, ridiculous characters here in Season 2. And, yeah. Feel free to subscribe so that you can catch part 2 whenever I get around to recording that. But yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!